that will take on your project, hoping that you will have to find an extra amount of money somewhere, somehow. And, like we all know, coming up with an extra £5,000-10,000 isn't something we would be excited to do, and would have liked to have known ahead of time, before we had commenced on that project, if we had to fork out another 10-15 grand, 5-10 grand, whatever it could be, depending on the project. So, over the years, I have found that there are a number of surprises that come up during renovations. Now, it could be a straightforward project where it's a kitchen reno, pretty standard. But even with the smallest project, I can say 9 out of 10 times there will always be an unpredicted find, an unpredicted surprise that comes out as soon as the project commences. So when we do advise, prior to commencement of your project, we do say, put aside, an extra 5%, 10%, 15%, depending on the scale of your project, for issues like that. Because what could happen is, if that surprise doesn't fit into your initial budget and adds a substantial amount of money onto the budget, we can find that some projects stall for a long period of time due to that specific issue. So please budget wisely and expect the unexpected. Number 3, understand timelines and permit requirements. Now, I have clients in the UK and the US, and permissions are similar but extremely different depending on states over in the US. Here, depending on councils, type of builds, type of renos, permitted planning, and so many extra things that go into it. Now, if we're doing sort of small projects, planning is very often not required. When we start going into renovations, external works, extensions and things like that, erecting new buildings, planning permission will be required. So, for example, if you do have a timeline in which you want your project to be slowly coming to an end, please factor in quite often 2 to 3 months on top of that, on a good day sometimes, depending on the nature of the works, that what is planned to be carried out, on top of your project, just because this gives you a good amount of time to also appoint contractors and builders and things like that. And you can sort of stagger your payments in a way and prepare your payments that are going to go out to builders, and when you want to retain contractors, and when you want to sort of start with groundworks and foundations and things like that. So it really is important to understand your timelines and the permit requirements before you commence.